In the bottom right, in the yellow, we have the champion, the emperor, the unbeatable, Happy. And the top left, in the red trunks, JohnnyCage, the young gun, the talent, the underdog, in the red. Playing, by the way, Pally Rifles. Pally Rifles, boys, here we go. That is the first, I believe, Pally Rifle appearance in DreamHack.
Yeah, and the first time in a while that we see it. A long time ago, or at least what it feels like a long time ago, Thorzane had some very close games against Happy with this style. I think Happy may have lost like 1 or 2 ladder games to this as well against different players. Maybe like Starbuck may have been one of them as well. So perhaps he's hoping that Happy really doesn't expect this and maybe messes up a little bit. Like sometimes you don't face something for a long time, and then when you finally have to face it again, you make a few mistakes here and then. That can be enough for a player as strong as JohnnyCage to usually win against it. But the last few times that I saw Happy against this, he looked really strong. The last few times that he faced Thorzane that did this, he looked really strong as well. He played completely different. He played with Cool Frenzy, I think, in one of those games on Turtle Rock.
I also saw him before stay on tier 1 and just expand with mass fiends. I feel like in the past, Happy was suffering from predictability. This Pally Rifle style can be strong against standard undead play with 1 base tier 3 play and with fiends, but it's absolutely terrible against Cryptload expansion and also suffers against other expansions. And wouldn't you know it, Happy going for the Sacrificial Skull, switching up his play, sells the TP, and is going to go for the fast expansion, which on this map is pretty easy to do.
Yeah, he has done that before, as you mentioned, and if JohnnyCage is fully aware of that, he might have some sort of push in the plans here. He's actually starting a scout tower. So it's gonna delay his tech a little bit. Usually when you go for Pala Rifle and you want to do the Thorzane style, you want to take super quick, so you definitely would want to skip that scout tower before your tech has actually started. I'm very curious what the exact plan here is for JohnnyCage. Does he have a push plan if he sees that it's an expansion? Or does he want to play more passive and just creep and tech into tier 2?
Pally Rifles has some strengths, certainly. It's a strong fighting army. If you do get to the late game with high-level Paladin, big supply, and a high-level Blood Mage, it's really strong if you have the micro to pull it off, but getting there oftentimes the problem. The strategy also has clear weaknesses. It's very immobile, only slow units, no move speed aura, and it's really hard to scout with. Normally, as human in the beginning, use the first footy to scout, or rarely a militia. Here, what do you even scout with? What are you going to send out? How are you going to learn what's happening? This map really isn't the smallest, and this expansion is not going to be seen for a long time.
Yeah, now that he has quite a bit of woods, I think JohnnyCage could probably send a militia out to scout with. But there is a 4th farm, so I'm really curious whether he might expand or not. He's headed towards the center. He could do this small green camp here, and then go to the expansion at top. But he techs. He actually techs, yeah, 30 supply. And on the other side, Happy is just going to get his expansion up. But his tech is going to be really delayed.
Yeah, once the 2 heroes are both level 3, JohnnyCage might be favored in terms of fighting for a little while until the expo fully kicks in, which is going to take a bit. And of course, the tech is also slowed down. Meeting now in the middle. Johnny only now scouts the expansion, but that is with the Narrow Tower up already and the Haunted Goldmine about to be finished as well. Happy perfect here with the timing as well to have the Acolytes in position right away. Question is now, how fast is Happy gonna tech? With only 1 Fiend out, is that good enough already to go for the tier 2?
Yeah, Happy didn't stay very close to this army, and JohnnyCage picked up on that here. He had the Peasant down there, so he's able to quickly grab the item here from this marketplace, which is big invuln. And usually when you play this style, you want to rush that Blood Mage on tier 2, and then you have a really good fighting capability already thanks to Siphoned Mana, which gives you like pretty much unlimited mana on the Paladin and also takes away mana from the opponents. And that's where you can, I think against an expansion, when you reach tier 2 here as JohnnyCage, is either gonna do an all-in with some sort of like proxy workshop if he wants to push, or he should expand himself and then just play a macro game from here. But the thing is, the expansion from Happy was so early that his economy is going to go out of control very quickly.
Yeah, the shoes on the other foot here, right? Normally it's the human fast expanding and the undead teching and powering up in the meantime, but here it's the other way around. Happy proving that he is not so much of a robot, in quotes, as some people used to say in the past, but he can adjust, and that looked like a smart strategic adjustment indeed. These rifles all, by the way, a little bit hurt. I wonder, could Johnny perhaps have crept this a bit better? Ideally, he would like to be more healthy on these units. Would love to have a Regent Scroll here, certainly.
Yeah, that's gonna come later. Like, as long as the Lich doesn't show up for a while, and it won't, because the tech is like really late for Happy, he's fine. Because he will be single target fire, which he can out heal easily with Holy Light. He never morphed that Scout Tower, by the way. He just kept it as such. I guess he saw that there was no danger headed his way. And Happy's so quick with the reaction here, as one of those fiends was about to get caught out of position.
It feels like Johnny's wasting his time a bit. Both heroes here are same amount of experience, which is not good with the guy, for the guy who is not expanded. Normally, the fast expanding player is supposed to lose map control, and Happy comes in for the Creepjack. There's a TP still available on Johnny. He's gonna lose one rifle, picks up the item Linehorn. Very unthankful. He's got a better version of that aura already. Gonna sell it. One rifle goes down only, I guess, but it seems like Johnny's not powering up quickly enough.
Yeah, losing one rifle here is disastrous, by the way. It's like when you see undead pushing human base and they start losing a fiend. You really cannot let that happen. Unfortunately, he did a greedy creep, and Happy was good enough to be nearby and really punish him immediately. Not only did he kill that rifle, he forced the town portal, so that's not something you can afford now, being on one base against the two of your opponents. JohnnyCage grabs the Shredder. Is he gonna expand? Or is he gonna bring like all of his peasants and try and tower rush and proxy a workshop? He gets another Lionhorn. Oh my goodness. And I thought I was unlucky with items.
Well, that's 480 gold in total, right? Look at the bright side.
Listen to this trader over here. He's like, yeah, no, my Bitcoin's going up with those Lionhorns.
Linehorn is hot in stock right now, selling at 60 rather than 50%.
I'm just seeing a graph going straight up of like his sold items.
Stonks! Oh my god, look at Happy's timing. At the moment that Johnny's trying to move out for the expansion, he is here already to punish, potentially.
Oh,
1-1 upgraded fiends, and lots of them. Oh! And there's no full wall off here. And that is a massacre. Oh my god, the Shredder's gonna go down. 375 gold, the Stonks are going down, Todd! And with zero value left on the market, GG is called, and Happy takes that 1-0 swiftly.
That was a quick one, wasn't it? I guess the game plan was a little bit different. Happy pretty much destroys his opponent on map 1. I think that's the only way to put it.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm kind of surprised that Johnny busts out the strategy on Tidehunters, because it's such an easy, fast expansion map. The other two maps still in the pool are Autumn Leaves and Concealed Hill. And he could have chosen Concealed Hill. Concealed is a terrible, terrible fast expo map for Undead. There, I think the strat would have been much better, so kind of weird that it chose it on Tidehunters.
What does that tell you about the mindset of a player, Todd, if he uses that unusual strategy on a map where it doesn't really belong?
I mean, who am I to say it doesn't belong on Tidehunters? Like, I have very little experience personally with Pala rifles, so there's many things I could give expert analysis on, but Tidehunters Pala rifle, I'm not too sure. You know, if it's like not viable. I don't really like the game plan over. Like, you know, it's a game of details. Imagine if he's sealed off here, then Happy cannot go inside of that wall. Then maybe JohnnyCage is perfectly fine. He sets up the expo, he comes back home, he defends, and then we're looking at a very different game. So this is kind of what we talked about before. It's not necessarily the strategy. Of course, there was mistakes in the execution for sure, but the details, the devil is in the details. You know that saying? Well, that's what played a big role here with that wall of not being closed as well.
Yeah, that was certainly the devil in form of Happy here. Johnny looking a little concerned, that's for sure. I like that he's going with the curveball and try something new. You guys pointed it out in the cast as well. Happy was challenged by Pally Rifle's Blood Mage in the past, even though that is quite some time ago. But yeah, you have to come up with something creative, because in the direct one-on-one, it's even harder to take something off of him.
And if you're thinking like, why wasn't his wall sealed off, by the way? Like, it's so obvious, you should just seal it off. Well, the thing is, if you close it, sometimes you're going to town portal, and then your stuff is going to be stuck, and then you're going to have to kill like 1 or 2 buildings to get out. So it's like a double-edged sword where it's like really hard to get right every single game and like not get anything stuck. Like his Shredder wouldn't even have been able to go inside of his own wall if he was sealed with a wall.
And especially with Pally rifles, sometimes you're going to be going up against ghoul hit and run. Like, for example, Xlord likes to play against this style, and the ghouls can get into your base, but you can't, which is really problematic. But once he saw Fiends, maybe you should have walled off then, but, well... Honestly, I think even if that's walled off, I think Happy was so far ahead. He was getting to tier 3, had the big army, already massively upgraded Fiends. Just a strong counter and Pally rifles, while it's a cool strategy, still has the issue that it gets hard countered by quite a few strats.
Yeah, and once again, something that Xlord loves to point out, Happy adjusting to his opponent is just world class. His game sense, his adaptations are incredible. They're out of this world. Let's see if there's another strat that Johnny can go for. Our second map is Happy's pick now. It is Autumn Leaves. So the second of the 2 new maps that we got in the scene. Let's see what we have here. Rush distance is pretty close between the 2 bases, and especially expansion and base. So maybe a new pocket strat for Johnny. Let's go.
Quick 1-0 lead for our favorite. Let's go into map number 2. In the bottom left, we have him, the Emperor. In the yellow still is Happy. In the top right, the young Russian talent trying to be cheeky on map 1. That didn't work out. Now he's going to try with standard and try his best there. It's JohnnyCage.
JohnnyCage looking to play more standard here with a quick Altar. Should be an Archmage and an expansion. We talked about the map vetoes earlier, and it's like really tricky against somebody like Happy. One thing that most human players would agree on these days is that you kind of have to veto Northern Isle against him. It's definitely one of his best maps. He knows how to push exactly with Death Knight on it. There are similarities between Autumn Leaves and Northern Isle because you got these center camps, right, between both bases. That's if you're the undead player, like pressuring with Death Knight, killing some peasants and stuff, you can always fall back on, creep those camps, gather a little bit more momentum and some items, and then keep on pressuring the opponent's expansion. And because of that rush, that shorter rush distance, Autumn Leaves might be even better to play that style here for Happy.
The interesting thing here, of course, in this map is Human has 2 options to expand on. Either the natural, which is easier to do, but closer to the opponent, or on the outskirts, the gold mine there, which is more experienced, but also harder to creep, but also further away from the undead side. Do you think there's a clear preference for most humans? Do you think there's a clearly better option, or are both viable?
Yeah, I think, I mean, it's personal preference, you know, like, it almost doesn't matter what I think, like, it's all about, like, in terms of results and stuff. It's a much easier, it's just like a different strategy. It's a much easier expansion to take the one that is close by. Against Happy, if he's on you while you're doing the faraway expansion, like, it's such a tough creep that you could lose the game on that camp. You're never gonna lose the game on the camp where you're doing the close by one, but then the pressure of Happy will be stronger. So it's almost like a confidence thing, you know, like how much have you practiced it? How cleanly do you think you can do it? And what do you think about Happy's timings? Because like they can be different. Some undeads, they will do 2 camps, they'll grab a second rod, and then they'll walk into your expansion with already like 4 to 6 skellies. Whereas like now we see Happy is doing something different. He's already going across with no skellies yet. Like I guess he's sending them now from the green camp. So Happy just guessed he was gonna be this close by expansion as 3rd camp.
And Johnny, guess what? Surprise, surprise, he's not expanding at all. He's teching 1 base. Found amazing items, by the way, and is playing the blade style. 1 base into what must be rifles, which I am surprised to see, considering this hasn't worked in a long time. Not against Happy, and not against most other top undeads.
While it hasn't worked and usually doesn't win, there's been some very close games where if you're watching as a really good human player like JohnnyCage, you might think, okay, what if I did that same game by blade, but instead like just a little bit better, just perfected the details here and there. I might have been able to win. So this may be what he was thinking, but I really feel like Happy is getting really much better and better these days against any sort of rifle builds. And JohnnyCage definitely got some sick items here, by the way, this game. Mantle plus circlet.
I think this strategy is so hard to make work. Like, you can never really force the issue. Even if you get to the late game and you have the strong rifle army and you have good hero levels and let's say 60 supply, you still can't push the undead base. It's still too much of a disadvantage. And Happy has shown time and time again how patient he is in the late game, getting to 50 supply first, thereabouts, triple hero, and then going into Banshees. And once there's a couple of Banshees with anti-magic everywhere, it is so hard to win with rifles. Like, Banshees are already a problem against Knights, but I think it's even worse against rifles, because with anti-magic everywhere, just can't get any kills, because you don't have to do that much right-click Knight damage. It's mostly about Stormbolt and maybe Holy Light, plus, of course, the right-clicks from the rifles. So I must say I am a little concerned here seeing the strategy from Johnny, but all the more props if he does make it work.
Yeah, it can be a lot about momentum when you play that style. Like, you just need like one good fight sometimes, and Happy has been known to occasionally, very occasionally, take one bad fight. Usually less so in tournaments than in ladder. But yeah, I think the plan is just to go mount tanking, start pumping out rifles, keep up with the creeping, and maybe get a few fortunate items. You know, like a greater healing here, greater mana, even Scroll the Beast sometimes if you're going rifles could come in handy. The good thing about rifles on this map is that you're going to be able to creep the red camps very easily, sometimes like even quicker than the undead. So that might be the plan here, to just try and snowball into this out of control situation.
Happy was double and triple checking the expansion, wanted to make sure he didn't get caught off guard. Wasn't necessarily expecting these rifles, but I think now he must know it is rifles. Was following around the AM a long time, didn't want to allow him to creep. While the undead only has one fiend, of course, the human creeps a lot faster, so Happy for that reason played very aggressively, trying to prevent AM leveling. But now, with 3 fiends, Happy's starting to creep himself, finally getting level 2. And they're creeping the same camps across the map. Amazing items for Johnny. And a nice little supply lead. Or experience lead, rather.
I think he must have been expecting rifles. Like, nobody goes Barracks, Griffin Aviary, or Barracks Workshop. Like, it's just not nearly as viable. You just, against somebody like Happy, it's almost like a
Excuse me? Are you doubting Mr. Winner's strategy?
Well,
is Griffin's Gyros Knights, bro?
Technically, rifles is Mr. Winner's strategy as well. He invented everything.
Yeah, that was a long time ago, though. Nowadays, he's got a new style, which I think is much worse, but whatever.
And he only played rifles before they got buffed, actually. He's a fair guy.
He's a rifle hipster.
Ooh, true shot.
Oh my god, these items.
Yeah.
JohnnyCage.
And this is
Winning the
exactly
lottery.
like, he's going rifles. My guess is he probably wants to play one base for a very long time, up until he has like 60, 70, maybe even 80 supply. So this is like the dream item. Now if he gets +1, then +2 attack, maybe +3, but usually that one you can kind of skip unless you're really getting further and further ahead. His damage is going to be absurd. And now he can do the red camp even more easily. Like, now he could just do like the orange camp on the right side, then the other one. But he's actually trying to contest middle, which I think Happy should move in position to try and prevent that in a second with DK level 3.
It's gonna be too late to do anything about the item, though. Oh, the Skelly would have been a sick last hit, but the MK secures it. Nova says goodbye to one priest there right away. But getting 2 middle camps traded for a priest, good trade so far for Johnny. Needs to make sure however he's not going to lose too much more. This MK level 2, pretty strong here. That Stormbolt, also good mana. AM, lots of mortal metal still left, and Happy doesn't want to give away the rest of this camp here as it seems. Going for the Dark Ranger, but doesn't have an orb yet.
But he went Bash, by the way. There is no clap at all. A lot more humans here since the latest clap nerf have been transitioning into bold Bash. Bash is kind of underestimated, you know. It's like that one thing that she told you not to worry about, but then when he comes in,
I do not underestimate Bash, Todd. Believe me, yeah. I do not.
How many games, how many staffs have you gotten canceled?
I was about to say it. Do you remember MK first days? I have destroyed too many keyboards trying to staff out in my lifetime to ever underestimate Bash.
Yeah.
20, 30, 40% chance.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I've ever seen level 3 Bash.
But it feels like Bash is like this invisible thing, right? You don't even really think about it, and then suddenly it starts landing, and you're like, oh my god, he just got like 2 perfect ones, and this really messed with me.
MK is gonna get level 3 here in a moment. Is Bash that good that he should go Bash level 2 right now?
No.
Imagine he did it though.
That paladin is really quick, by the way. Like, as soon as JohnnyCage reached tier 2, he started Castle Tech immediately. He starts +2 now as well. He can bank for a little bit. With this style, though, rifles are really not that mobile, and you don't have like the extra speed that undead will have with unholy auras. So then undeads, it's very common for them to start hit and running the human main base. Run in, kill a lot of peasants, TP out. So if you're JohnnyCage, you're gonna want to watch out for this with some good scouting, and also maybe start getting at least one Arcane Tower, I'd say.
Oh, great creeping. Look at that. He keeps the wolves and everything alive for the Pally to get full experience from this camp. Well, this will be level 2.5 if he gets everything, which would be amazing. And yeah, I agree with you. Similar to Pally rifles, this human army is pretty immobile, so hit and run in the base can always be painful, especially if Johnny ends up losing the TP at some point, then this becomes a super vulnerable spot for the human. Yeah. As he's gonna have to rebuy the TP, it's gonna be expensive, and so on and so on. Happy finished the red camp, got the... Wait, didn't I see a Hood of Cunning? No, Claws plus 12, Hood of Cunning on the other side, which, it's not the best for Johnny.
Yeah, it's agility and intelligence, which definitely helps the mount tanking. So I can inject that into my veins. Actually, could keep it on the Paladin as well. Because usually mount tanking, you're only using Storm Bolts with like 75 mana, but the Paladin has a very short cooldown on the Holy Light, so you're going to be spamming that Holy Light all the time to try and keep stuff alive. JohnnyCage, it's interesting that he didn't finish the camps at the bottom. I think he wanted
weird, right?
Whatever was left up there, but there's barely anything.
Yeah, he could have gotten level 3 down there. Maybe he thought he was going to be able to contest the red camp, but that's not really working out, and now he's not quite level 3 Paladin yet.
There's
Focus
no
fire on the MK.
He's dead.
He just dies. Could have transferred the TP right there. MK probably a little too far forward, and not having the level 2 Holy Light definitely becomes painful right there. And without a Stormbolt here, it's not so easy to micro this for Happy.
Good TP here. Like, there's no way without mount tanking. And if JohnnyCage watched played and he was like, oh, I can do this better, this is definitely not the proof of it here, because he didn't get his pal at 3. He was literally 2.9 when he engaged here. He hasn't killed a unit yet. And losing the mount tanking in the start of the fight is just a disaster. Like, you need to TP immediately behind this, or you're gonna lose everything. But perhaps not in the right mindset here, still fighting a fight that he cannot really win in the grand scheme of things, even though he was trading a little bit.
And now in this scrappy fight, the level 3 Dark Ranger is so good, being able to summon more and more skellies. In a big fight, the Dark Ranger quickly gets dispelled. Paladin in trouble as well. Inner Fire coming in only now. So many upgrades that Johnny was getting. Pally 3, Inner Fire, but he fought before it.
Yeah.
Very questionable choice, and Happy gives him a quick punish for it. Huge supply lead now for the Undead, taking out more and more rifles. And once this Paladin runs out of mana, that's it.
This is so sad because he had gotten such good items here. That was maybe his best chance, his best shot to win a game in a tournament against Happy, like in a long time.